being held remotely and also in person, and will be filmed and recorded for live and subsequent broadcast available through the Council's website. The Council is a data controller under the General Data Protection Regulations and the Data Protection Act of 2018. We broadcast and record Council meetings to fulfil our public task obligation to enable members of the public to observe the democratic process. Data collected during the process will be retained in accordance with the Council's published policies available through the Council's website. Members of the Council are reminded that they should follow the Council's established meetings protocols, including around the use of the chat facility, and that comments made in the chat facility are visible to all participants in the meeting, which may include members of the public who have also received invites to the meeting. Okay, do we have any apologies, substitutions, or declarations of interest?
Convener, we have apologies from Councillor Brooks to be substituted by Councillor Wilson. Apologies from Councillor Daisley to be substituted by Councillor Reynolds, and apologies from Councillor Quinn. So move to a roll call. Can the following councillors please indicate if they are present at the meeting? Councillor Cassidy.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Clockerty.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Crowder.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Curley.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Hellier.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor McCormick.
Present in the chamber.
Provost Mackenzie.
In the chamber.
Councillor Nelson.
Chamber.
Councillor Reynolds.
Present remotely.
Councillor Wilson.
Present in the chamber.
Are there any declarations of interest?
Just to say, I note that report 8 presents the final business case for Innisgreen Marine Park Phase 2. As a council appointed director of Innisgreen Marine Park, I am a council appointed director of Innisgreen Marine Park Limited, as noted in my register of interest. I reviewed the council's code and I consider I do not have to have a connection to this general provision in section 5.4 of the council's code of conduct. Council appointee of an outside body applies. However, for transparency purposes, I wish to note my role for inclusion in the minute. I do have an additional connection with respect to this report, but as this relates to information contained within the report, I will record that at the appropriate time.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Okay, moving on to the agenda. Oh, sorry, Jim.
I'm just going to say everything Chris says. It's the same thing from myself.
Okay. Okay. Item number 2 on the agenda is the 25-26 Environment Regeneration Revenue Budget and the 24-25 Outturn Report. Matt.
Yes, thank you, Convener. As you say, it's the usual revenue report. It is the first one in the cycle after summer recess, so it does include last year's outturn information. The key elements in it are within 1.3, we show last year's outturn, which is a £306,000 increase in spend, or 1.38%. I would remind members that in last year there were a couple of areas that were considered as pressures, and they were addressed through the budget process. They came to £200,000. So without them, the true overspend in the committee would have been just over £100,000. Some of the details are in section 3. I'll not go through them in detail at the moment, but I'm happy to take any questions on it after the report. And also I'd flag that at 1.4, we're currently showing a £90,000 projected overspend, or 0.41%. And again, the details are in section 3.3. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Any questions for Matt? Chris.
Just on item 3.3, a note that it says part of the shortfall to do with the parking income related to the TRO for business parking permits. Just wondering when that would be able to be actioned. And obviously the 75,000 shortfall for PSN income due to less activity. I think that's the parking charge as opposed to the cost for the actual parking itself. But just wondering whether or not how we'll deal with that within future budgets, etc. That's an ongoing issue.
Matt.
Yeah, the business permits, I can't give you an idea of that. I think somebody else might be able to help with that. But certainly the PCN, yes, that's a shortfall in the penalty notices issued, not in the parking income. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Through you, Convener, in terms of the business permit parking process, we're currently looking at the actual process itself and whether or not we need to bring that back to committee to take it forward. Might be a report to the next committee. And obviously what happened then join in the list of the TRO list, which is quite extensive, and then other decisions in future committees around 20 miles per hour and other activity that will obviously affect its the ability to progress it as well.
Okay, Marcus?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, any other questions? No? Can I agree with recommendations?
Agreed.
Okay, item 3 is Environment Regeneration Capital Programme 25-26 Progress Report. Eddie, what come first?
Yeah, thanks, Selena. It's the usual capital programme progress report. I don't tend to go through every item. There's a significant number of projects at different stages of progression. And there is an additional item within the recommendations dealing with the request from the Green Centre Regeneration Forum, looking to allocate a proportion of its available funding to reinstate the West Grove Street underpass, which was fire damaged some time ago. Happy to take any questions on any individual projects, and myself and Neil to best answer them.
Okay, thanks. Eddie? Alice?
Yeah, it was just to ask for an update on Road Roads. Obviously, the road's been closed for about 3 years, and this councillor's regating the night all the time.
Yeah, so you can be up. As noted within the report, the ground investigation is recently completed. We won't get the results of that investigation report until probably the end of next month. It takes a good number of weeks to process all that information and get all the test results back. Informally, it has said that the ground conditions were not great, as what they found on site. So depending on what we get back from our official report, that allows then to look at the design options, and then once we get a design option for that, then we'll go back to the committee in terms of what we think we can do in terms of that and the likely programme. But until we really get that information back from that investigation report, it's not possible to give you a timeline.
Someone had mentioned that there was drilling works going on the old road. Is that still being looked at? Is that across the road?
It's only the out with the existing road that we're doing the ground investigation, because the previous report that the committee had ruled out looking at the existing location, just because we wouldn't have the confidence that it would be a long-term solution to go back and reuse the same route. So we know that there shouldn't be any drilling happening in the old road.
Okay, thanks.
Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Just another question you went done with, and you're saying that I think is it May the next month you're potentially getting the report back from the consultants.
Yeah.
So just wondering what timescales might be for it which to come back to committee. Is that maybe going to be able to come to the November committee meeting?
It's unlikely if we get something to November. We need to understand that from those results, what options there are to take our project forward. We're hoping there will be an option, depending on how bad the conditions are. But that's something we need to then engage the design consultants to understand as soon as we have that report available. So I can't say definitely we'll bring something back to the November committee until we've got that report and understand what the options may be.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay, thanks, Eddie. John?
Thank you, convener. Under 3.8, the Bloom Park regeneration under the dangerous building notices, I noticed there that one building has been identified as not being dangerous, and that the said property is actually partially occupied. It also goes on to say that the council will be writing to the owners or occupiers following the outcome of the appeal against the enforcement. I'm just wondering what likely impact will that have on the demolition schedule? And under section 3.34 flooding, I welcome that the work is now progressing on Westmoreland Road. I was out that way last night and I can see that the work is now underway. That is very welcome, and I'm sure that the residents in the area will appreciate the work that will be undertaken. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John. Demolition works, Neil?
Thank you, through you, Convener. So the appeals on that are live at Monkland Park are to properties within what would be stage 3 of the demolition. So we're currently working on phase 1. Following that, phase 2 would commence, and then following that, obviously in sequence, phase 3 would commence. there were appeals for the phase 2 process, and those have been resolved to allow us to move on sequentially. However, appeals are not in our control in terms of timescale. They just happen to be how it goes through the court process. So we're working to deal with those appeals, but I couldn't give you a guaranteed timescale on it. But we would hope to resolve those in order to let the sequence continue.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Drew?
Thanks. Thanks, Peter. Under 310, the battery park, the replacement of outdoor gym equipment. Does that actually get used? Is there anybody use it? Is there any team uses it? Any organisation use it? People jump on it, get on the bike for 2 seconds, they jump back off, and it's a novelty. And I live next door to the battery park, I walk around it all the time, and I've never, ever seen anybody using it.
Thank you, through you. I don't have detailed usage on specific pieces of equipment. However, there's a police strategy that has an agenda to create a broad range of facilities for access and for fitness and for general purposes. So it's part of the strategic approach to provide this basic play equipment. There are monitoring and maintenance schedules, so there's some usage on it, but I can provide for detail of that offline.
David?
Yeah, thank you, Convener. Big page 15, 3.26, offsetting, peatland restoration. Eddie, I know this is your pride and joy. You did receive an award for it. I think that the effect it'll have upon net zero is absolutely negligible. The only redeeming feature is that the 900,000 pounds being spent is not our money. It's money that came from the Scottish Government. You know, farmers have spent centuries working in those hills, draining them, so they could run their sheep and on some occasions cattle. And we go along and we just destroy all the drainage. But there you are, that's my opinion, and it's happened. My question is, as for phase 3 at Hardridge, will that come out of the original 900,000 or will that be new money?
Yes, that will come out of the original allocation. It was a 3-year project, so this is the final year of that 3-year project.
I hope you don't take my attack personally, Eddie.
Absolutely not.
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, thanks. It's probably just a comment rather than a question. I mean, obviously, the work in the Central Green is still ongoing. It's possibly been delayed a wee bit, so it'd be good just to get a wee updated committee on that, if you don't mind, Neil. Just to thank Neil and Jennifer for keeping us updated. We had another presentation yesterday at the Greenock Town Centre Regeneration Committee, which is very similar to the one we've got here. But absolutely no doubt that Bob said that working flat out in this, which is the biggest project that we've got in this council. It's just get an update on the delay and how much the delay is going to cost, whether we're going to be able to bring it back in time. That's okay, Neil.
Yeah, Neil?
Okay, get through your computer. So in terms of the probably the most recent committee decision, so about Regeneration Policy and Resources, where we secured a full budget for the project, the timelines that were put out into public domain following that were that we were intending to commence the project this autumn. That still remains the case, and there's no delay to the end date of the project. We're working on a full comprehensive, as you would and members would all expect to have for the project before it goes live. So that is a comprehensive piece of work, and will go live imminently. At the moment, we're in the latter stages of the sort of securing the legals to go ahead, and within those will be fixed items such as dates, etc. So we'll be publishing that quite soon. We're working to finalise that, so, but there is no delay to the programme.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Paul?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Yeah, just a comment when it's under peatland restoration. I'll have a completely different view to it than Councillor Wilson. And I think one of the last times he was at committee, we expressed different views as well. You know, I've been up to see it, impressive work. We've won, I think, now we've got 2 awards, you know, for this, Eddie. It's a good piece of work with officers. I think there's a number of the local authorities wanting to get in the learnings from what we've done as well, which tells you something about where local government's going. And contrary to what council said, I met one of the 10 farmers up there and he was nothing but praise for this project and what it's going to do for him.
Councillor Wilson.
No answer. No answer.
Chris.
Fill the one outside.
Paul slightly raised a number of questions, things I was going to raise there. I think this is the peatland restoration project is a good project. It was part of our net zero strategy as well, if I remember right. And it's obviously when it was the previous incumbent MP was very keen on and actually liaised with all council officers trying to get it progress. It's good to see that it's come to fruition and coming to the end now. But just touching upon to maybe try and convince Councillor Wilson of the benefits of it. And I know that when we first initially brought this to committee a few times as part of Net Zero, we weren't able to provide definite numbers on the amount of carbon that would be able to be requested or put back in again. I'm just wondering now that we've actually taken the work and we've actually taken studies, we know the depths of peat, etc. Would that be something that officers would be able to provide as information to actually how much of a benefit this project has actually been able to provide?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you can be yes and no at this stage. So there's all different stages of peatland regeneration, and it takes a bit of time for it actually to get back to what it was before. As part of the process, there is a kind of return programme that they come back to monitor how well it's doing over a period of time, and we've obviously agreed to participate in that. So we can probably provide a good indication based on the work that's been complete to date. There's the final phase 3 to complete as well. What officers have been doing continuously with the contractor and the kind of specialist consultants that we're involved with for Peatland is reviewing each of these phases, and the scope changes slightly in each of the phases. So until we're finished phase 3, we won't be able to give you an actual more accurate figure. But yes, we can certainly give you a good estimate, and we'll be keeping a close eye on it through the monitoring of return visits to understand how it actually is coming back to the way it should be.
Thank you, that'd be very useful information. And it might be able to Councillor Wilson
Just one comment, Eddie, could we have that figure in millimetres when you get round to it?
Usually it's in tons.
As convener through yourself, I was just looking for some reassurance regarding the footpaths and especially down towards through the Gourock area and into Ashton. We've obviously just recently completed some work there regarding an incident that happened, and thankfully that was completed very quickly and to everybody's safe value there. So I was just looking for some further recommendations or assurances that these works are ongoing, and would we have a timescale as to when they'll be completed? Thanks.
Yeah.
Can you just clarify specifically, is this part of the kind of footpath surfacing programme that we've got on, or is that something separate? Yeah.
I think you're referring to the railings, the incident with the railings.
Oh, the railings.
Towards the railings side.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In terms of the railings, we have a programme ongoing. Cove Road is the kind of next area we're focusing on. We've completed some work closest to the Battery Park side. We've got a number of the new cast iron ballers now in stock, but we also now have to follow on and take course in the sea wall to understand the strength of the wall for putting any new columns into position. So I appreciate it's frustrating for people to see it moving quickly enough, but it's not a simple exercise. We need to make sure what I'm doing is going to stand the test of time. To be fair, these railings have been there quite a long time. They have done well, but they are getting to a point now where we're having to do a fairly significant programme of replacement and restoration, but we have to do that properly. So it's an ongoing programme. Hopefully we'll be going on for the next 2 to 3 months at least, probably, and then we'll be looking at other areas. We've got another section at Albert Road to replace this during that time frame, and we'll be continuing on for the sections and across all of the railings that we have across the coastal areas to make sure that we're keeping on top of all.
Thanks so much, Bill.
Okay. Sandra, do you want to come in?
Yes, thanks. Just a comment about the railings you were talking about. I get asked a lot about this for the past year, and I have to say that the project right along the coast has made a huge difference from the multitude of orange barriers that were there like over a year ago. I'm constantly telling constituents about the complex nature, particularly some parts of the coast from Clough site up to Battery Park. But however, the bits that you don't see, and one of them did occur at Albert Road, is areas where there is rusting. And there's quite a lot of these barriers are in danger of doing the same. There's 2 at McInroy's Point before the ferry terminal and after the ferry terminal. The metal barriers have come right off. These are quite dangerous. They're heavy to lift. I've moved them out the way. I wouldn't like to see somebody lift them up and take them away and use them to throw over to the river, or maybe even break something. It's not really a question, but it is there an ongoing plan to just look at this all the time? I mean, I'm doing it, and I'm walking along and looking at them, and some of them are quite rusted where the join is, and in danger of doing the same as what happened at Albert Road. Thanks.
Yeah, we've got a programme that works for.
Yeah, through you, Convener. We do obviously rely on reporting of areas to then go and follow up and inspect, but we are going to introducing a kind of quarterly inspection for these specific assets. And there's also other activity that is ongoing generally beside these areas, where we're either inspecting life-saving equipment, or we're actually cutting the grass beside these areas. So, council officers are there quite a lot, so we're relying on members of the public to report anything, our own officers to keep an eye on things when they're doing activities in that area, but we'll also have a regular inspection regime, because they are, as I say, they've been there for a significant number of years, and whilst we've replaced a good number of these at Coronation Park, we fully replaced all the railings at Coronation Park, and we obviously need a programme of inspection and replacement that's going to stretch a number of years, because there's a fair length of these railings across the coast.
Okay, Sandra.
Yeah, thanks, Eddie.
Okay. Chris?
Yeah, just come back. So I was going through the report, and I was just remembering the previous person's report does talk about the surveys to the key retaining walls and to the sort of the environments, etc. And also there's a piece of work on that. There's nothing within the report today, but I was just wondering, is this something that's still ongoing with respect to these aspects, or would have a specific report back on any additional works that are required?
It's an area of ongoing activity, and again, it's limited by our resources and our ability to take it forward. It does need specialist surveyors to go and look at these assets. We'll go through a proportion of them, but we're not fully through them. And again, it links back to understanding exactly the ownership position around a number of these assets as well. And some of that starts with people that start with other private landowners. So it's a complex area, and what we are focusing on is the areas that we know are ours, and make sure we understand what the position of those are under condition and liabilities. And then beyond that, we'll look at the legal ownership position to see if there's anything that we don't know about.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Sandra, is that a legacy hand, or do you want to come back in?
Sorry, my apologies.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? No. Do we agree with recommendations?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Item 4 is in the White Housing Summit update report. Neil.
Thank you. The report is presenting for agreement the update to the local housing strategy action plan to incorporate actions that came out of the Housing Summit that was held in April. So the actions were developed and gathered at the Housing Summit, and they're in detail in the appendix, and I won't go through them in detail. What I'll probably highlight is the purpose of the Housing Summit and the outcomes of it at a more strategic level. So the Housing Summit was held on the 24th of April this year, and that was in response to the very low, almost zero levels of development in housing that we are seeing in Clyde and have seen recently. And that includes both the private sector and social housing sector. So the Housing Summit was held as a multi-partner response to that. It had an attendance of the Clyde Council representatives of social landlords, private sector developers in Scottish Government, and political representation through MP, MSP, and some of the councillors were the council in attendance as well. The Housing Summit was a very positively received event. It created a lot of energy in the room to make a difference. The key changes or key emerging outputs from that are summarised in Executive 3.8. Mainly that is that the Scottish Government were very supportive of us looking to use our housing grant in a flexible way to support innovative ways of delivering new housing. There's a very strong private sector interest there, and off the back of that there have been numerous discussions looking at working with private sector and RSLs, and sometimes jointly to stimulate new development. With a number of sites available in Recline, including stock transfer sites to that end, and also identified the need to advance the local development plan and create an effective supply for new development to come along. So very positive outcomes from that. It was obviously only a few months ago, so there's been positivity. We're looking to continue to build on that and continue momentum. So substantially, to say that the actions that were agreed are built into the action plan, and that's the ask of today. But I just thought that oversight might be helpful. I'm happy to take any questions on any of the content of the report or the summit itself.
Thanks very much, Neil. Okay, Sandra.
No, sorry, my hand won't go down.
Chris.
I think David was on first.
Oh, sorry, David first.
Yeah, Neil, could you explain to me how does the housing summit strategy merge in with the local development plan? Does one feed into the other, or are they separate projects?
If you can hear it, so what I'd say about the housing summit is it both sits in the domain of the local housing strategy and the local development plan. We can't really run effective development plans or local housing strategy if we've got zero development. So the purpose was to sort of stimulate, garner interest and work with partners to common agenda. We're at early stages of the development plan, but clearly what we need to do for the development plan, we've got about 4,000 units worth of land in 2024. There was a total of 31 houses built in Clyde. So we've got a gap there, and so the housing summit's purpose is to try and stimulate interest in those sites, stimulate private sector interest, that might be able to support new social housing and vice versa. So it very much links into the local development plan and will inform that as an ongoing process. It will be the same process in local housing strategy.
Thank you.
Chris and Andrew.
Thank you. I just obviously, one of the elected members who took part in the summit, I could find it a very it's encouraging actually that you get people in table and what people actually want to build houses in Inverclyde. One of the things obviously we're trying, personally I'm trying to see about how we actually remove barriers to that, and then obviously it's getting the houses in the right places. You have 4,000 houses, but maybe not necessarily people want to develop them, so that's where I suppose to reinforce your response to David, that's part of the process to try and identify effective land supply using these old terminologies. But when looking at it, I think partnership is the key, and I'm pleased to see that the partnership is identified through here, because we've got RSL partners in there, and obviously our main RSL in Riverside Homes has got a large supply of land, and in my ward in particular, I immediately think of the Tall area, which is right to the east end of Inverclyde. It was originally part of the idea of having the Eastern Gateway, and as that land is sitting there right for development, it's all been developed, so we need to try and get these partnerships going as quickly as possible. So I'm pleased to hear that is maybe going on in the background at the moment, but certainly I'm keen to see it, because that would be a good opportunity, again with my ward, and obviously the same with David's here as well, because if you can look for areas where it's appropriate for affordable developed for maybe purchase, etc., it can then cross-subsidise further development, further improvements in our social housing. And then in Port Glasgow, there's lots of area in Upper Port. It would actually be good to get that social housing improved, maybe in the back of these sort of developments of areas like Woodhall. There's probably lots of areas like that throughout Inverclyde I can mention. Probably let other board members come in. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Drew.
Thanks, Convener. Appendix 3, 1.7. To maximise the potential to generate more homes in town centres through engagement with developers and promotion and marketing of existing emergency sites. And this relates predominantly, as we see in the notes, to Port Glasgow Town Centre. If a developer is interested in doing Port Glasgow Town Centre and developing for housing, now is the time to strike. There has never, ever in the history of mankind been more vacant properties in Port Glasgow Town Centre that can be acquired for very modest prices. And that's something that we should be promoting. Now is the time to strike before these properties go are developed in some other way.
You.
To just expand on a comment that I made previously, we've already had a handful and we've got some more lined up of what I refer to as a tour, but what we're getting is private, public sector in enabling developers in the housing sector to come and visit Inverclyde, and we're taking them on a tour of sites which are some of which Councillor Cully's referred to, some of which are town centre sites, and some of which are more greenfield sites, just to showcase what we've got and try and nail down the sort of interest that we got at the summit for folk to developers to come in and support us. We're working with the Scottish Government and the Scottish Futures Trust around those objectives as well. So we've got a lot of iron in the fire, I suppose, to try and advance that.
Thanks. Okay, thanks, Neil. Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. I suppose I think I've already made comment on this before about how disappointed I've been with local RSLs. The first time that I can remember, we've had new houses built in my own ward, Hub 4, and that was thanks to Sanctuary. They're still getting built now in the site of the Old Temple Centre. So I was disappointed with our local RSLs, and I think the figures that Neil spoke about sort of substantiate that with the lack of development. I'm happy that we are attracting other housing, other social rented housing in, but I'm also really happy with Neil talked about the private partnership, because I think that's key. And we've spoke about earlier on in the agenda about the total change in infrastructure surrounding this building. Greenock Town Centre is going to change totally in the next 5 years. There is going to be plenty, hopefully you'll verify that, there'll be plenty of opportunity both for the private sector and the public sector to look to invest in housing in Greenock Town Centre. I take what the prophet says, but in all honesty, when we're looking at a substantial bit of land, when we actually think of what's actually going to happen, we don't need to look any further than outside of this town building to see how much land will be generated, and hopefully it will generate that mixture of public and private to actually regenerate the whole of Greenock, and of course, but Greenock is the regional centre of Inverclyde as well.
Ennis, you next. Yeah.
Thank you. Page 37, the facilitation of the regeneration of Queen Park. And I was just looking at the timeline at the right-hand side there. And the last point was deliver acquisition programme for the remaining homes in private ownership, 2028. It's anticipated it will take as long as 2028 to acquire all the properties in private ownership.
The acquisitions process is an ongoing aspect of Queen Park, but it is clearly, obviously, as part of the process is anticipated to be a compulsory purchase order. So that will take a period of time, obviously, and we're working to accelerate that as much as we possibly can. But in the background and related to all of this, Queen Park hasn't been absent of the discussions we've been having with that wide range of partners in the private sector, and that's shown in terms of our level of interest informally in Queen Park. So a complex process also for us, but yeah, we're working to accelerate as much as possible.
Chris.
Just touching upon Rob's point about Lower Port Glasgow. I think I know it says 2028 here, but I think we're expecting the completion of Lower Port Glasgow House-led Regeneration plan a lot sooner than that. Are you able to give an update of when that will be able to be presented both to Inverclyde Council and also what they call to Glasgow Regeneration?
Yeah, through your convener. Yes, so the enhanced drafting of what master plan at the moment is just going through the sort of quality assurance process, and so I would anticipate that we'll be able to come forward reasonably soon. Not a specific timescale on that, but part of the sort of end checking, the due diligence that we're doing with the work that consultants have done is triangulating the outcomes of the housing summit and whether there's what interest we can have behind that. So it's advancing, it's in an advanced stage, and we'll be able to present it soon.
Okay, okay, thanks very much. Okay, can we agree the recommendations? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Item 5 is the Greater Glasgow and Clyde Joint Health Protection Plan. Neil?
So there's quite a hefty appendix to this, which is the protection plan itself. The protection plan is referred here as the committee of the council that's approving this document. It's a reserved function for the health board and local authority. However, it has been worked with across the health board and with public protection officers to develop the plan. It has been approved by the joint health board, so the consideration today would be to note the paper. However, any comments or considerations can be put back to the health board. I don't have any intent to cover specifics of the paper, but I have to take questions.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Okay, any questions for Neil? No. Chris?
We're just on the, is it, you say note the plan, is it just in the recommendation it says to approve? So I just wondered.
Sorry, yeah, it is to approve the plan, but all these purposes have been approved by the health board.
Right. Okay. Okay, we're happy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, item number 6 is the Scottish Government consultation into the cruise ship levy. Neil, you again.
Thank you. Again, the convener for the paper is looking for an officer response to the cruise ship levy consultation that was run by the government. We closed in closed in May on the sort of feasibility and the sort of the cruise ship levy. The response is seeking homologation through the committee to exchange for referring to committee at the time of consultation, then allowed to come back to committee before it's submitted. There is the appendices that includes the full transcript of the submission that was made by officers and members are asked to agree the response. The response is in general terms seeking to support the introduction of the levy and give that the funds raised to the local authority flexible use against a range of things that support sort of place transport infrastructure, visitor economy usage, etc. I'll details of responsibility. I'll take any questions on that.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Any comments, questions, David?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm about to fall out here with my friend of 18 years, Councillor McKay, because I noticed from newspaper articles that he is in favour of this levy. The group I'm a part of, the three of us, we are not in favour of a levy. As I understand it, Neil, this here is today is purely for us to react to the consultation, but I imagine at some later date, an agenda item will come to this committee to decide whether to do it or not. Is that the case?
Through your convener, yes, so this was a government consultation prior to any formal stages of legislation. And I would make the proposals to the visitor levy. There are stages of that we need to go through, and ultimately, even if it was enacted, the authority would have the right to decide whether it participated in the scheme or not. So there will be a lot of mileage left in the process if it comes to pass.
Thank you. I just put up a signal that we are more than likely to object to it and raise an amendment to whatever motion. In the main, I think that fuel ports have done a lot at the terminal here. They've invested in the container terminal with new cranes. We have created ourselves with government money the terminal area, Scott's restaurant. We've got a lot of work in there. The number of cruise ships are increasing. I think that McGill's and a lot of the bus companies are doing a very good job to take the cruise passengers to wherever they want to go. I think that we're in danger of killing the goose that laid the golden egg here. And we think it should be well left alone. I think it makes us look a bit penny pinching to be charging passenger £1 or £2 to arrive in Greenock. So we'll wait till it matures, Neil. Thank you.
Okay, Paul?
Jim,
Sorry, Jim, can't say that way. Yours, Jim.
It's okay, probably Paul may have been saying the same as me. Obviously, I wholeheartedly disagree with Councillor Wilson, not the first time in the last 20 odd years. However, when we look at the cruise, first we've got to look at it and say, well, if it came in tomorrow, what would we be doing with that money? And it wouldn't be an awful lot, it would be the council deciding. But we've already heard today about things like the railings and the coastline. We've heard things like place-based funding, that we've already spent money in things like the custom house. The only thing would be, it would be in the remit of this council to decide where it be. But the environment has always been top of the agenda, especially when we're talking about the centre of the Greenock, the centre of Glasgow, and the centre of the Greenock. So I think we've got to get that elephant out of the room, first of all. Yeah, the council would be deciding on it, but the environment by the members in here would of course be looking to do the improvements that we've already done in Inverclyde, but ensure that improvements are kept up to date and kept on doing that. That would be the first thing I would say with regard to the environment side. The principle of cruise levies or tourist tax or levies on overnight stays are now probably well enshrined in wherever you actually go in the world. Wherever you're going in the world now, you're paying some sort of levy to help the locality and the taxis to do exactly what I said we're going to be doing. And the cruise ship levy is no different from that. The cruise ship levy is virtually just saying, okay, you're a tourist, yes, come into Inverclyde, go from Inverclyde to visit the Trossachs, Loch Lomond, but what we're actually going to say is there is and that slight cost will go to help the environment the cruise ship is going to land at, and the surrounding area. So I think the cruise ship levy for us, the council, is relatively a no-brainer. It will not, I assume, unless the members decide that we go in that in things like, or we'll use 200,000 to lower the council tax or whatever. It would go to help if we as councillors wish it, to help the environment, to help stimulate the local area and to provide that benefit as well. To me, this.
Thanks, Jim. Paul?
Yeah, I agree with Jim. I think it's a no-brainer and exactly the thing that Jim said, about being able to use potentially that money to invest in things, like our environment, places where tourists are comfortable to come and visit in Inverclyde. I think we've got things key. And this response also there is that, if the Scottish Government, I hope they do take it forward, if they take it forward, that they do not put strings on what local government can use the levy money generated on, because that should firmly be a decision for local government to make. I've seen other places in the world where this has worked. It's not deterred cruise passengers from visiting. And I'm sure, I think I spoke to some people in the cruise ship industry and they said they didn't see it as an impairment to people coming here to Inverclyde to visit. Well, we're talking about the actual cruise ship companies, not just Peel, Councillor Wilson. We've got to talk about the cruise ship companies. So yeah, I'm happy with the response also prepared, and of course I will support this when if we do get power.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Hey, Chris?
Yeah, just to take some comments here. Yeah, as a group, we've always been in favour of this levy. I think it's a good approach. We also talk about the environment as well, but also it's an opportunity to maybe invest in some of the facilities that tourists would want to come and see. And so again, it's about building that tourist economy within Inverclyde, and maybe then enable us to attract more homegrown tourists as well. So it's all part of that sort of ecosystem. So it's great to see this finally come around. I wish it happened before now. It's been a wee bit of keeping this to the government to feed to the fire to get this done. It's all well and good having it for overnight stays, but in Inverclyde we really need it for the cruise ship. I've just been abroad recently on holiday. Yeah, I think from a family we stayed in Naples, and it was €90 or €120, but it never put me off going on holiday. It's just that if it is, as Jim said, it's ingrained in practice, it's part of the process. It doesn't put anybody off going on holiday. Didn't destroy my holiday, let's put it that way. So, but I feel I'm making a contribution to the, when I'm on a holiday to the local place I'm visiting. So I think it's right and proper and it's expected by tourists. And I just look forward to see it happening sooner rather than later. With respect to that, what sort of timescales are we expecting? I know Councillor Wilson wants to specifically object to it, but are we talking about something going to happen before or after 2027?
So don't know is the short answer to the process. I think that Bristol Levy took, I think, a good 2 or 3 years to work its way through. Again, I would make no comments with that, but there's no guidance on that at the time of consultation.
Okay, David, you'll have to stand again.
I'm not going to get that's twice you've gone up.
Convener, in the introduction of this report, page 1.5, the word homologate is used twice, and the Green Government has already commented through its membership of the campaign for plain English regarding that word. Is homologate a word that we can expect to see more of?
Who's responsible for that one?
Well, I thought that embiggened the quality of the report.
Okay, can we agree on recommendations? Sorry, thanks, you want to come in? There you come.
I was just going to say that, you know, I think something we also have to remember with this is it's saying passengers, but you also get a lot of the crews coming off those ships who aren't that well paid and things, and they do come in here and they spend a lot of money. It might put them off, and that's something we need to take into.
Passengers. Passengers, not crew.
Good argument.
Passengers, not passengers only, not crew.
I would be exclusion for two.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think we just.
The money is through the passenger levy and what we pay.
It doesn't apply to the crew.
I would suggest.
Well, it'll be up to us.
It would be practical, that would be the case.
Neil, you want to just clarify that?
Just to say, I think the report mentions the anticipation would be per head of passenger.
Yeah, it is just passenger only.
Yeah. Okay.
So crews wouldn't be considered passengers.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, can we agree? Yeah, thank you. Okay, item number 7 is property asset management, the public report, consultation and proposal to dispose of land the rear of 54 Clough Road in Europe. Eddie.
Thanks, Convener. It's the life of the report, and it deals with the responses to the consultation to potential disposal of land to the rear of 54 Clough Road in Europe. The responses are included in Appendix 1, and the main item is dealt with in the private report, so for potential disposal.
Okay, thanks, David. Okay, any questions? Ian?
Yeah, thanks, Convener, through yourself. Yeah, I mean, I'd just rather than make a note rather than make a question. Obviously, I'd like to welcome the Council's clear and decisive decision that the parcel land at Clough Road will remain as open space, and I'm pleased that strong legal measure, including the conservation order, will be applied to ensure that this is the case. So I'd not like to revisit or challenge that decision but already taken, but instead to make sure it's reinforced the importance of what has been agreed. And obviously, once open ground is lost, it cannot be recovered. So we're just noting that. So protecting safeguards and the character of the area preserves value of green space and reflects the wishes of the local residents who have consistently asked that the land remained undeveloped. It also encouraged the officers of the council to maintain ongoing dialogue with the community regarding sale progress so that they are kept up to date. And supporting this proposal, I'd like to make clear that the land's future as open space is essential to the amenity of this area and must remain at the heart of every decision going forward.
Okay, thanks, Ian. Now, maybe what come in at this point, we'll be discussing private later, but in there, part come in? No? Okay, can agree recommendations? Okay. The rest of the agenda is to be held in private.